of the board meeting for November 9th to order, and I would like to begin by saying Los Alamitos USD will be implementing California Department of Public Health guidance, which no longer requires social distancing in public settings. CDPH requires that unvaccinated individuals wear face coverings when indoors. Therefore, we request that unvaccinated individuals wear a mask covering while indoors. By physically attending this meeting without wearing a mask covering, you are attesting that you meet the requirements of CDPH's guidance for the use of face coverings. So at this point, in closed session, we discussed items concerning negotiations and employee matters. No decisions were made. We would now like to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Forehand, would you lead us? Thank you. We had at our workshop this afternoon, we had a presentation on Educator Effectiveness Block Grant, and we would now ask Mrs. Reed to please give us a summary.
Thank you so much, President Davidson. Earlier this evening, Melissa Davis, our Director of Assessment and Accountability, gave a workshop on the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant. Los Alamitos Unified is going to be receiving a little over $1.8 million over the next 5 years. These funds are categorical, and they're specifically used to address professional development, learning, and support for certificated teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals, and our other certificated staff members. Currently, we're writing the plan to align to our 3 LCAP goals. Next steps would be on December 14th. We'll be bringing the finalized plan here for the board to take action. December 30th, we'll be submitting the plan to the California Department of Ed. And then this plan will run through September 2026, and Ed Services will give an annual update on the use of these funds.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed, and thank you, Mrs. Davis. It was excellent presentation. It's very exciting what we'll be able to do with those funds. We're now moving on to board reports, and I'll begin with mine. On Thursday, November 11th, we will celebrate Veterans Day across this great nation. Unlike Memorial Day, which honors our fallen military who sacrificed their lives to protect our freedoms, Veterans Day gives all of us the opportunity to honor and appreciate all veterans for their incredible courage, dedication, and sacrifice. Currently, there are 19 million of these amazing men and women to whom we owe our eternal gratitude. Every campus across our district will be dedicating time to pay respect to these heroes. This morning, I was fortunate to be visiting Hopkinton with Dr. Pulver and Mr. Forehand as students were practicing a montage of patriotic songs, complete with choreography. It was adorable. Writing letters of gratitude and talking about what Veterans Day truly means. Hopkinson's principal, Mrs. Garcia, shared with pride that the third graders would not only be singing tomorrow at their assembly, but next week they will do an entire musical performance at McGaw Auditorium in honoring Americans. Each of these schools has shared a snippet of what they will be doing. Weaver's Choir will perform patriotic songs. The Boy Scouts will present colors. Girl Scouts will speak about why veterans are so important. And keynote speaker, Commander Lisa Sharkey, will share about her adventures as a science officer. Los Alamitos Elementary will hold special assembly that will include honoring local veterans, giving their military backgrounds, and sharing their stories. Lee Elementary will hold a school-wide flag ceremony where veterans from our Lee families and the community will be called to the front and honored. As you can see here, these are from past presentations, and the kids love them. The kids were so excited about being a part of this and doing it. I was fortunate before the pandemic to be able to go to McGaw's, which was absolutely phenomenal. There was such an incredible community outpouring. The base just across the street gave them extra reasons to be so celebratory. It was a wonderful occasion. Rossmoor Elementary will also hold an assembly entertaining those in attendance with patriotic songs and celebrating veterans as family members call them to the stage and demonstrate their love and appreciation for their dedication and service. At McGaw Elementary, veterans will be introduced. They will be celebrated with songs, poems, and letters, as well as a salute to veterans with special certificates that will be presented to them by the students. I've already shared a little bit about Veterans Day celebration at Hopkinson. Invited veterans will hear speeches, poems, and songs. After the assembly, these heroes will meet with the leadership team of students who will interview them and enjoy refreshments together in a time of appreciation. Once again, these are from last year. Many of these are the children with their parents and grandparents being honored by the community in which they live. Our middle schools have created their own ways to honor the men and women who have served so valiantly. Oak will hold an assembly in their amphitheater with invited veterans as their special guests. Student leadership created Honor a Veteran posters where students can give a shout out to special veterans in their very own lives. These will decorate not only Oak's walls, but the walls of the American Legion Hall as well. McCullough is holding a Spirit Day with 6th graders wearing red, 7th graders white, and 8th graders blue. History lessons will focus on different branches of the military and the unique roles they play in protecting our democracy and keeping all of us safe. These classes will also explore the challenges of service to the mental health of our soldiers. At the high school, there will be a field of flags in front of the campus at the marquee. Veterans will be honored as their bios are read during announcements. A small token of appreciation will be presented to the veterans that are there. The history and meaning of Veterans Day will be discussed during morning announcements. As you can see, our students are engaged in not only honoring our courageous veterans, but also celebrating this great nation whose heroes have so valiantly protected us. At this time, we who are gathered here tonight would like to honor all those who have so selflessly served in our military. As we ask these veterans in our audience, and I hope we have some, to stand, we will also recognize any family members as well. We know the sacrifices that families make are tremendous. You too are our heroes. Although we're celebrating veterans, I would also like to add another group to recognize. There are approximately 1.3 million serving in active duty and 800,000 reserve forces. These are individuals who volunteer, who enlist, and continue to do tour after tour, as our vets have also done to protect our nation. Would all veterans, active members, reserves, and their families in this room and the other room please stand right now so that we can be grateful, show our grateful recognition. So I think that as a parent, I always wondered if my kids really fully understood about Veterans Day or just thought it was another day out of school. So as we take pause on November 11th to commemorate Veterans Day, I can guarantee you that the students in this community are well aware of the value of our soldiers. It is my hope we'll all reflect on their sacrifices and thank them for the preservation of our country and our freedoms. Thank you. I would now like to pass this little remote to Will, and he will be doing the student report, which is always full of joy. Thanks, Will.
I wasn't expecting a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Wow, it's, whoa. All righty. Good evening, President Davidson, esteemed board members, Dr. Pulver, executive cabinet, and community members watching in person or online. Hello once again. My name is Will Brandenberger, and I want to thank you all for tuning in for my 6th student board report. Without further ado, let's get into what's been going on at LoSal. For this week's academic slide, I wanted to showcase something educational that's not limited to the standard A through G classes. This is Mr. Kayati's 3rd year teaching at LoSal, but he has already made a huge impact with his club, the Cash Flow Club. Here, students learn about how money works and ways to lay down habits that can secure a bright financial future. Lessons range from what to do with a dollar to managing your money. The lessons lay down a foundation that helps teach students about future finances, but Mr. Coyote says the club is in full force when they play the actual board game, Cash Flow. The game is a simulated investment scenario with changing stock prices and professions, where students must adapt in order to get out of the rat race. The club has been growing in popularity, but Mr. Coyote says there's always room for another future leader as he aims to educate Griffins and put them above the rest. The club is a fun way to get students engaged in talking about a quiet subject and leaves many walking away strategizing their plans 40 to 60 years down the line. After 2 months of planning, LoSal just wrapped up our very stressful but very rewarding homecoming week. At my last report, the week had just started, and that Friday, we wrapped it up with a great assembly with games, homecoming king and queen nominees, and of course, the roller coaster. One of the highlights was Song and Football's dance, as it was filled with some hilarious dance moves, and as seen on the slide, Alex Romo's insanely funny walk down the red carpet. And lastly, the week wouldn't be over without a homecoming dance that took place at LoSal's campus. This was many of students' last homecoming, but it was a week full of memories with great participation from everyone around campus. But as we come off the homecoming train, things have been relatively quiet around LoSal. One way students have been getting engaged is attending class council meetings. These meetings are held by each grade level on ASB and are a way for students to voice their own ideas for school activities, from dance themes to lunchtime events. It's a great way for students' voice to be heard. These meetings are typically monthly, and we just finished our first round, but more are coming soon. On the athletic side of things, girls golf came in fourth during CIF finals. Kate Younger and Kira Chang qualified for individual CIF events, and don't worry, I have more on Kate later. Both teams and individuals ended Thursday at regionals, but a valiant effort nonetheless. Just this past week, boys water polo ended their season in a nail-biting game where they lost 5-6 against Oaks Christian, but in the end, they did make it to the quarterfinals, still proving they are some of the best around. Coming this week, cross country has their CIF finals that will be taking place at Mount Sac, and the runners are lacing up for what is going to be a very close contest. And of course, I wouldn't be able to finish this slide without mentioning the amazing win from football last Friday night. The game was great, and as you can see from my shirt, I just hope both teams had fun. But LoSal won 48-6. And I do have to give a big shout out to Dr. Pulver for stepping up at the last homecoming game and running the flag, which I totally put him on the spot to do at the last board meeting. Definitely a highlight of my night right there. And lastly, tomorrow in the gym, we have our first signing day for this year. Athletes have already committed to their universities to sign letters of intent tomorrow to officially attend their schools for fall 2022. Some of the athletes include Aiden Schulten, who is committing to play volleyball at UCI, and others like Carly Limosnero, who plans to play softball at Cal Baptist University. And that's all for sports this week. Good luck to the new commits and to all the fall athletic programs as our seasons slowly wrap up. And it wouldn't be an art slide without another choir update, and this week is full of great information. Firstly, choir sang at the homecoming football game, and no shock, it was obviously amazing. They actually rehearsed for 2 weeks to get that Broadway-level performance. The halftime show included all of the arts programs at the high school, from choir to dance. And when they did have a little bit of downtime, the women's choir group, Soundtracks, got to go on a retreat to the mountains to bond and learn new material. And coming this week, Sound Effects is going on their retreat this Wednesday to once again bond and make some great memories. And I'll be honest, I didn't have enough time to finish this report, so I guess I'll have to improvise this next part, like LoSal's very own improv team who had a show last week. At this show, they brought back some of LoSal's alumni for a hilarious, funny improv performance. Some of their performances included games like Chain Murder, basically a life-size game of telephone, and Expert Challenge, where the audience picks a topic for the cast to argue about and pretend to be experts on. And dance has started early rehearsal for their winter performance this year. The show is called Desktop Drama. The show will run on December 1st through December 4th at various times and is located behind the Performing Arts Center. It's great. It's great. Ugh. It's going to be a great way to finish out the year for the dance program, and I know it's going to be amazing. For this week's teacher time, we dive into the life of the amazing Mrs. Shanaker. This is actually Mrs. Shanaker's first year teaching at LoSal, but her 5th overall. Before teaching, she was a math tutor for 7 years and has been raising her kids. She loved the flexibility of being a tutor, and LoSal helped her do that, so she teaches part-time so she can still have time for her children. She attended Point Loma University, where she met her husband, who is now a software engineer at SpaceX. Wow. While she does teach Algebra 1, her background is actually in musical theater, but this works perfectly. Ms. Shanaker treats every lesson as if it's a performance. It's her job to make sure the audience is engaged, learning from what is shown, and of course, making sure the jokes hit. She believes that her teaching style makes the sometimes hard to understand concept fun and engaging. And being a huge musical theater geek myself, I had to ask her what her favorite musical of all time is. Coincidentally, we do share the same musical, Dear Evan Hansen, and we are total besties now. Teaching is her passion, as it reminds her of the fond memories of being a 7th grader at Oak, going to Los Al football games where she found some of the best friends she could ever have made. I can say with confidence that despite it being her first year, Mrs. Janiker is making a big impact on our school and the lives of many students. And it's no secret that our golf team has been destroying the competition recently, and for this week's slide, I wanted to spotlight one of their players, Kate Younger. Kate is a 16-year-old and a junior at Los Al. Inside of school, she takes 5 classes, but she excels at golf. She's been playing golf for 7 years and loves the sport because it's very challenging, but super rewarding when she makes a perfect swing. She started playing at a young age and remembers the time that her dad randomly signed her up for a tournament. Little did she know, but she would actually win a medal, and this cemented her love for the sport. Golf is her passion, but she also loves to travel and hopes to one day be a physician's assistant and attend a university after high school. When she looks back on her time at Los Al, she remembers all of the great memories of spirited football games and being a part of the Loco section. Some other fun facts about Kate is that she actually drives stick shift, or as my parents call it, a theft deterrent device for millennials. And during the summers, she teaches kids how to golf. Overall, Kate is such a kind person with a warm heart. She's fierce on the green, but so nice at school. She perfectly balances the academics and athletics of a Griffin, and I, for one, cannot wait to see what the future holds for her. Congratulations on all your hard work, and hats off to you, Kate. And that's all for this report, folks. Thank you for listening, and to those at home, thank you for watching. Have a great night.
Thank you, Will, for always sharing the joy. Love hearing what's going on at the high school. And now we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Pulver.
Thank you, Madam President, esteemed members of the board. It is a pleasure to present to you tonight on a variety of topics. Will, just when I was listening to you talk about our improv club at the high school, the other thing that I had the great opportunity was to go to our high school drama production. I think it was Puffs, then another long name off of Hogwarts and Harry Potter, kind of the understory of that. And I was reading in the playbill that one of the star characters, this is his first time being acting in drama, that he really came from the improv club. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Our students did a phenomenal job. As many of you may know, I was principal at Lee for 5 years, so it was so exciting to see some of my students from Lee who were in the drama production, both in the stage and the lighting design aspect, but also acting. So it's always fun to be able to see our students perform. Speaking of that, we also had the great opportunity to take a look at our jazz concert last, I think it was Tuesday evening, right before I was able to leave to Washington, D.C., to just see our high school jazz perform. And it was amazing, and I know many of you were there, just to see our students. I get mixed up. Jazz 1, is that our entry level? Jazz 3, is that our high? Jazz 1 comes out, and I'm thinking that's our highest level. It was our entry level jazz students, and they were phenomenal. And then it just kept getting better to Jazz 2 and then to Jazz 3. So hats off to that. And then last night had the great opportunity to see our marching band and our color guard perform their set. They did a free rendition of that to all our families right on our track and field. It was phenomenal. They've taken first place, I think, in every competition, and we're going to be rooting them on this weekend because they're going to Trabuco to compete in the finals. So good luck to all of them. The other thinking of improv, not completely, but I wasn't planning on talking about this until I did a walkthrough today at Hopkinson Elementary. And one of the things that we have every month as part of our focus on mental health and social emotional learning is having different themes. And last year was about bullying and being an upstander. And this month for November, it's really about gratitude and getting all of us to practice our own gratitude. So it was really fun to be able to go into the classrooms and to see teachers working with students on that. And as we went into Mrs. Schaefer's class, they had a surprise for us. They had some gratitude letters that they had written and colored. And I promised Mrs. Schaefer's class, the students were so excited when they said, I have my superintendent's report tonight and I might mention it. So they might be watching on YouTube, I don't know. But I told them I'd read a couple of them. So they're just endearing and certainly lifts up your heart. And I think that's what we were, as we walked away, just reminded them, it's amazing sometimes just the power of a positive note, how it can improve your day. So a couple I'll read from Aurora in Mrs. Schaefer's class. Dear Dr. Pulver, thank you for all that you do to help us become better students. You make LoSal a better place. If it wasn't for you, LoSal wouldn't be the same. You are special, you're amazing, and no one can do the job better. How would you not want to be on that campus and in that classroom every single day? And then I'll just read one more from John. And it says, Dear Dr. Pulver, thank you for all that you've done for our district. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. Love that. You made this the best district in the world. Thank you very much. And just a series and some drawings that have different pictures on it, and just lifts your heart up. And I'm just so reminded about the graciousness that our students have as we were walking through other rooms. We might have been in their way. Please excuse me. They're just so kind. We just have amazing students. So I wanted to really give them a shout out and thank them for the gratitude. I think we all can learn from one another's actions, and I was really touched by that. So I thought I'd spend today to just do a spotlight on career technical education. We know that part of our job as a district is to really prepare our students for unlimited possibilities, and they have a myriad of different dreams and options that they want for them. And we know that K-12 is not their end game. We're really trying to help prepare them for where they're going to go beyond for college, career, success. And so I wanted to highlight some of the career technical options that we afford our students and through the different pathways. And so here in LoSal right now, we have 5 career technical education pathways, plus a plethora of access through a consortium of what we call North Orange County ROP. So sometimes if we don't have career technical classes, they can take them anywhere in North Orange County through the consortium that we have. But the 5 pathways that we have is information technology, engineering, design, patient care, production and managerial arts, which is really about digital video production, and our students have been filming even our games and other sorts of events. In fact, they'll be filming, I believe, our State of the District coming up. And then public safety, which is really fire technology, EMT. I think we're one of the only districts that has, by the time the students graduate, they can be fully licensed as an EMT, which is really unheard of. Typically, people have to wait to go into community college or beyond trade school for that. And when we say pathways, it's because we have a series of classes. There's at least 3 or more different classes in each of these pathways. What we're excited about is that we're also looking to add professional internship courses for our students directly within these CTE pathways. And so we have a teacher who's been working through various grants and through Vital Link to really create internship courses. And so by the spring of 2022, what an internship course for students is the kind of culmination of this pathway is they'll be able to, it's really for their junior and senior years to follow their final year of the pathway. The students will attend school 1 day a week for career readiness, professionalism, work ethics, health and safety, communication. And then they'll complete 5 hours per week for 16 weeks in a formal internship aligned with their distinct career pathway, whether it be IT support, student athletic training, machine shop intern, and a video tech intern. And then the course will culminate in a portfolio detailing the student's experience and preparation for a career in the industry of study. And those are the courses that we have. But again, there's a host of other options through North Orange County ROP. And I was really excited to see that at the high school, we're hosting a skills trades fair. And for individuals, there you can make a lucrative living, really being an electrician, a plumber, a welder, et cetera. And so we really wanted to be able to highlight that for our students as well. And so on November 17th at lunchtime, in room 500, students don't have to sign up. They can just show up. It's really an excellent chance for our students to learn about the apprenticeship and college certificate programs, to meet with professionals from various industries. They can learn about amazing options available after high school graduation that'll allow them to join the ever-growing, as I shared earlier, lucrative skilled trades workforce. And all students are welcome, but particularly our juniors and seniors are highly encouraged to attend. So if you missed it in the last couple of weeks in the weekly take-home by or email from our Griffins, Los Alamitos High School. Here's the flyer once again, just the different career options that they can come into room 500 right during their lunchtime. That's going to be next Wednesday, the 17th. So look forward to that. And then, again, the representatives from these different CTE programs. Again, not all the ones that we host here, but they are within our North Orange County ROP. Automotive technology, operating an engineer for heavy equipment, sheet metal, automotive collision, fire science, welding, dental assisting, plumbing, and pipe fitting. So really some different career pathways that we think is important to highlight and give access and opportunities to our students who might find that attractive to them. And so the students can learn and ask questions from the professionals, and the goal is to show students that there are many options for their future beyond Los Alamitos High School. And then as shared in the previous superintendent's report, we have 2 schools of ours who earned this esteemed honor of a National Blue Ribbon Award, both Lee Elementary for an exemplary high-performing school, and Los Alamitos Elementary for closing the achievement gap. Actually, let's give them a big round of applause. The only district in the state to have 2 blue ribbon schools, 1 in each category, which is phenomenal. And this really is a celebration for the entire school. We both schools had a blue assembly to really recognize the accolades. I think it's been 20 years since they received this accolade from the federal government. So it's their second time being a blue ribbon school. And it's just really phenomenal, but whether it be our teaching staff, our classified staff who go above and beyond and who are just committed to continuing their craft and to helping support our students, to the support that we have from our parents, the programs that is our PTA or our Friends of groups, really to enhance the educational opportunities for our students, as well as just the community helps support us. So we're very proud. This is a picture. We did go back to DC last week. The award was Thursday and Friday, and so it was fun. We got to bring the principal and 1 teacher. So from LAE was Marlea Gardia, and from Lee Elementary, Amy Salter was selected. They were selected from their teams, and just a really heartwarming congratulations to both schools. And we are very, very proud of them. And then I just really wanted to spotlight as well, Dr. Stone, who was an administrator for us for 20 years at Los Alamitos High School, retired, came out of retirement when we needed him the most, when we had a principal vacancy at the last minute at Los Alamitos High School. I reached out to him and asked him if he was willing to come and serve as an interim role. He was doing this much for free because as a retiree, you can't earn much back in the role that you were previous. And he really just continues to give of his heart. Last year, one of the things I think that everybody who was a Griffin was really touched. The pandemic, while it continues, it was very hard last year in a hybrid schedule, families, students, just in 2 different schedules, and parents having to kind of get this all, and just feel like things were stripped away from you. And Dr. Stone did such a wonderful job, always trying to build positivity and a kind of a moral to a story. And what started off as what he was just trying to create some positive communication once or twice turned into a tradition. At the end of every week, he created a ending thought. And some of them are quite long. He kind of tied into lessons of his as a childhood or other sports lessons, et cetera. And then he always had a way of making it applicable to now. And so he actually published all of those stories in a book that's called Be Well and Stay Positive. They were the thoughts for the week. Many parents had asked and really had recommended that was something that they had looked forward to. And so I love that this was just released on Amazon for $13.99. Board members, this will probably be your holiday present, so don't run out to get it. But this actually makes a great holiday present. They're just some cherished stories, and you can kind of take them one at a time to just pull a nugget out about life. And here's once again where Dr. Stone continues to leave a legacy. He was the King of Hearts for Leif. But all of the proceeds from this book will be donated to LAIF to create a senior scholarship. And so again, it is about 180 pages, and just some amazing stories and ways to kind of reconnect that you can share with one another. So thank you to Dr. Stone. Your legacy definitely is going to live on, and we're grateful, and just wanted to, if any of you want to get your hands on it. I ordered it, I think, on Saturday, and you know Amazon, it came so quickly, I already got it. And Chris, I see you have it here as well. I probably stole your thunder. You were probably going to talk about that as well.
Yeah, I was, so now start thinking about my Christmas gift different than
Differentiate, you got it. Dr. Stone.
Dr. Stone is one of those saints walking on earth. So we now are moving to the board member communication. Normally for board communication, the president goes last. Tonight, I would like to be first to speak. Although I've apologized in a number of settings, I believe it is important for me to publicly apologize tonight to my fellow board members, Dr. Pulver, cabinet, staff, families, and community for the words I spoke at the last meeting. I make no excuse for my actions, and I deeply regret the turmoil I caused. Specifically to the two women most hurt by my words, I am deeply sorry for the pain I caused each one of you. To my fellow board members, Dr. Pulver and Cabinet, I understand how my actions failed you and the work that we do. There's a scripture from James that calls us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. It is my sincere intent to brand these words on my heart and mind going forward. The past few years have challenged every one of us, from adult to child, in ways we never imagined. As a community, we joined forces to be the first in Orange County to safely open our public schools in the midst of a shutdown. In response to mental health concerns, our district nearly doubled the number of healthcare workers, mental health counselors, opened wellness centers, and enhanced services. The possibility of learning loss in our student population due to the pandemic is being addressed with added intervention support, special programs, and tutoring services that are free and offered at the high school level. Our teachers and staff are being supported and trained to ensure equity, diversity, and inclusion on every campus and in every classroom. Next September, we will open the new 3-story building that will provide excellent opportunities for all our students in engineering, technology, robotics, and much more. Together, we must continue to build upon the powerful work that has been done with the promise to always put first what is best for our students. I hope over the next year I can build back your trust as we continue to do the work of the district for our children, families, staff, and community. Thank you. And I'd now like to ask Mrs. Hill, would you like to go on?
I would. Thank you very much, Mrs. Davidson. And Mrs. Davidson, I really do appreciate your heartfelt and humble apology. I love this quote from Martin Luther King. Forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a constant attitude. And personally, as a Christian and a human, my goal is to be forgiving and to live in grace. Now, I will say that this is constantly a moving target, but that is what I hope that we can all take away from this. I usually at this time, when we do communication, we talk about all the different things that we have been involved in the district. And this past 2 weeks, I have spoken to a lot of parents and community members. And there have been several questions and misunderstanding that has arisen in those conversations. And I think that that's what's wonderful about communication and being able to be civil and have those kinds of connections. And so I would like to take some time right now to address some of those things, because I know if one person has that question or one person has that misunderstanding, there probably is somebody else that has it as well. So just 4 main items I want to hit tonight. One is, why all of a sudden is the board making comments in the meeting? And I just want to say that we've always done board communication. Our board communication, however, has typically been at the end of the meeting. And typically at the end of our meeting, there's nobody here. And so that's typically as soon as people have public comment and they come up and are heard, we typically have we've had a recess before, but a lot of times they leave and they don't stay for the business of the board that we're doing. They don't stay to hear public comment. And so our communication is a time when board members can demonstrate to the community where we're observing the business of the district, where we're connecting with students, parents, and staff. Some have said that we are doing a PR job, and all as leaders, anybody who knows as a leader, that is part of your responsibility as a leader, is to share the good news, to be out in the public and to see and hear what people are thinking and feeling. And so I'd like to say to the public that this is our opportunity to demonstrate that we are hearing, we are witnessing, and we are in the community getting those things. And that's what public comment, or that is what our communication is supposed to let you know about, is when we're doing those things. So that was one. Number two, why are you so elitist and dismissive to parents? You don't ever address the very concerned parents, you don't ever address the very concerned parents that come to speak at your meetings. You just sit there. Now, this is an area that I do believe we can work on. But it is an issue of an item being agendized. And we all have rules we have to work under. And so we work under something called the Brown Act. And the way that the Brown Act works, it was really created to protect the public, is that it works that we can't comment on items that are not agendized. So I'm going to give you an example, because I did this to a couple of people that I sat down and talked with, and it at least gave them a better indication of what we can and can't do. So a speaker comes to the podium. They say, the sky is blue. It's not on our agenda whether the sky is blue or not. And then Mrs. Davidson, as president, replies, 100%, I agree, the sky is blue. Then the next member says, wait a minute, I don't think the sky is blue, the sky is white. And it goes on and on. And as you can see, that now means that we have had a discussion on a non-agendized item. We now know as board members what the other board member thinks or believes. It is not fair to the public to do that, because they've had no notice that we're going to talk about the sky being blue in our school district. So I agree that we need to let speakers know that we've heard them, and we need to find a way to do that, but we have to stay within the guidelines. And that is fair to the public. It was made because of the public. And I hope that you understand that. And that's one of the reasons we moved our board communication up, was to be able to try to let you know some of the things that we've heard. Okay, number three. We don't want to hear what parents want for their children. We do here. I think the problem lies twofold. One is the one I addressed earlier, right? The Brown Act, in that we can't in the moment react to what you say and when you say it. And two, that I truly believe that our job is to find the most options for students and parents and not to limit them. And so often with public comment, there is a wide variety of perspectives. And we sit here and we listen and we take in all of those perspectives. And then our job is to balance all of those and provide choice to you, parents and community. I believe down to my core that every parent has a right to do what is best for their child, and our job is to support that to the best of our ability. Almost done. Number 4, you always say your hands are tied, so why did we elect you? There are many things that are mandated by the state and not left to local control. Personally, I think that's a really big problem. So we need to advocate for untying our hands. We need to advocate that our district can make those decisions that most closely represent our entire community. And that takes this board, that takes you, that takes everybody listening to YouTube. If that is something that you want, we need to advocate for that. And so my second to last point I just want to make is that one of the other things that I have heard when I've been speaking to parents is I've heard a lot of very concerned parents regarding vaccine mandates, which the governor says is coming in January, June of 2022. And so I am requesting that we add at a future meeting a discussion on a resolution regarding those impending mandates. As is our protocol, because we have a lot of protocols, there needs to be support from another board member to bring that forward. So Dr. Pulver, I would ask that you would look into that and see what we can do about that at a future meeting. I do want to make it very clear that this is not a political agenda. This is supporting a wide range of parents who have asked that we support them in this. So since I've taken up so much time, I will give you a really brief list of the things that I was able to do and participate with parents, students, and staff this week. The Safety and Wellness Committee, OC, Orange County School Boards Association dinner, and we had a wonderful speaker on mindfulness, and it seemed to be quite appropriate at the moment. Special Education PTA meeting, LaSalle Jazz at the Gas Lamp. It was a great date with my husband. Adult transition back to school night. If you don't know what that is, many of you may not know that we have students from 19 to 22 in this district and what we do with them. And it was an amazing presentation and so warming to the heart. The wonderful Oak Choir performance, boys water polo. I got to go to the new aquatic center and wish we'd had a win, but they did a great job, an amazing job. The marching band send off and showcase. And then I just want to say what I am grateful for. I am grateful for an amazing, loving husband. I am amazing for our LaSalle staff, administration, cabinet, and executive cabinet, all you do every single day. And then I'm really grateful for our families, every one of them, that makes this an amazing, special community to live in. It really is a very special place. Thank you, Mrs. Davidson. Sorry I went so long.
No, that's great. Thank you for all that clarification. Mr. Forehand?
Diana, that's a tough one to follow, but it was very well spoken. I've been very busy. I got to go on walks with Dr. Pulver at Oak, LaSalle High School, and today we were at Hopkinson, and the Lions, the Griffins, and the Huskies are really in good hands right now. Ethnic studies, Scott and I went back to high school on Monday, and for an hour, it was important to me to get to see what the class is like, the elective class, and they had a very stimulating conversation around stereotyping, and kudos to the teacher because often the teacher makes a difference. Congratulations to my grandson's school, the Lee Elementary Leos, for their blue ribbon assembly. I got to watch a guy ride his bike onto the campus in celebration of earning a whole bunch of money for our CTE program and get to meet 3 kids in the program who were, I think Meg would agree, just learning a lot about different things. I felt like I was on Broadway this past 2 weeks because I got to take my grandsons to Puffs. I got to go to the Gas Lamp. I haven't been out in years, and I got to see the jazz. And I agree with you, Dr. Pulver. I couldn't tell the difference between 1, 2, and 3. They're all fabulous. I got to go to McAuliffe's choir and the Oak Choir, and boy, again, I felt like I was on Broadway. And last night, the marching band just was fabulous. I was in shock. I did get to go to homecoming. I haven't been to a Los Al football game since the 90s when both my kids went here. And I too, and I'm going to remind Will of that, carried that flag down and ran the whole way with you. That's right. Veterans Day at Rossmoor has already occurred last Friday, and it was a huge tribute, and Scott and I were there, and the whole stage was filled with either individuals or pictures of individuals, and it was just a very nice celebration. I want to report back. I reported last time that they were collecting coins between their competition for their 4 houses for the sea life and the oil spill off the coast. They raised $878.57, and the Percival House won with $263, but right behind was the Galahad at $258, so only $5 separated. I think as a new board member, it's not only important to be in every classroom, which I've done very well through my first year, but it's also to understand the nuts and bolts of this district. And the nuts and bolts are things like all those cafeterias that serve massive amount of lunches every day and the routines. And I got to go to McAuliffe, so I've done 8, and McGaw, I'm coming next Tuesday, so I'm going to finish out all 9 of them. But what's great about that, it's not only the preparation of the food, it's the relationships these employees in our cafeterias have with the kids. They know their names. You know, it's just like a wonderful greeting in a restaurant. I mean, they're just wonderful. So I will finish with, well, you stole my thing about these. I too got letters of appreciation from the classroom at Hopkinson, and I've already written them back. Ooh. Yeah, so you got a ways to go there.
I do.
Yeah. And that was you walked out of that room with a smile, and I said to the teacher, we're coming back every 30 minutes to just have another smile. So that I greatly enjoyed. You stole my thunder about Greg Stone's book, but I'm going to end, because I always end with students, and Diana and I attended back to school night, and I don't know that the parents understand that we do educate kids in the adult transition program from 19 to 22, right? Yeah. But I thought, and the parents there were so loving of this program, and who wouldn't be? I mean, these kids are so well taken care of as they get ready to have to go out as adults on their own. So I want to give a tribute to that program as I end my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Cattouli?
Thank you, Mrs. Davidson. Scott and I are going to be the cleanup crew, so we're going to be repeating quite a few things. So the one thing I want to start off with is at our last meeting, I requested everyone within listening distance to contact their local assembly person and the state senator about the concerns about the mandate, about the vaccine. And I actually received 2 emails, so I'm thinking that there's hundreds of people who didn't bother to email on people who went ahead and took the advice and let the politicians know. I really appreciate that. I may be Pollyanna, but I do believe it counts. They log those things, they count them, and they see how many hashtags they come up with. So thank you so much for the people who did that. And if you haven't done it yet, I live in Seal Beach. Janet Wynn is my assembly person, and Tom Ungbird is my state senator. So I wanted to throw that out there. The Orange County dinner meeting, Puffs, the drama, I thought it was fabulous, but I am a Harry Potter nerd, so I thought it was really funny and really enjoyed it. Lee's National Blue Ribbon was a great celebration, and once again, our Assemblywoman Janet Wynn made time to come, and I thought that was wonderful. The jazz performance, again, outstanding, but my husband pointed out to me that each progressive jazz group got a little bit sharper and a little bit clearer. And I went, okay, but because I agree, I thought that I was in when the first one, okay, he'll tell you all about it. But yeah, I was at first, I thought, is this jazz 1, 2, or 3 when they were performing, because they were so incredible. I was able to go to the McAuliffe musical, and what I loved about that is that it had kids from drama, kids from doing dance, and then obviously vocal. And I apologize to Oak. I couldn't make it on the weekend. It was a short notice to me, and I just couldn't make it. Our vital link that Mr. Forehand already spoke about is it's not a company, it's an organization that takes different strands, pathways, like what Dr. Pulver was talking about in Concur Technical Ed. Usually there's some kind of a certificate program, so that can be EMT, it can be any Google certificates that they give out, Apple certificates, and that's kinds of things, and anything else with construction, automotive, or whatever. But you start the programs in high school, and then you can transition and get further education and more certificates going on to city colleges. And he is the president, and he was doing a fundraiser because he wanted to have scholarships for those high school seniors who graduate, want to continue their studies, and then this way he can help pay for their books and their tuition when they go to a local city college. And I just thought it was great that they wanted to do that. And we had a EMT, a fireman, and a robotics student there. So it was really fun seeing that. Okay, and last night I had a meeting with the Orange County Committee on redistricting, because as we know, everybody is redistricting, all of our federal and state, and so is the Orange County Board of Education. So we'll be having a meeting on that to see what they've come up with. Other than that, I would really like to thank everyone and wish them a very happy Thanksgiving. I do make my family do this, and they all kind of roll their eyes at me, but when we're sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner, they have to come up with one thing they're thankful for. And depending on the age of the kids, some of the things are probably not as things you should be that grateful for, but it's an entertaining thing, and I do think it gives everybody just that half-second pause to know you have some fabulous things in your life, and you really need to celebrate them. So happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mrs. Catulli. Mr. Fayette?
Last and least. All right. I'll try to keep my comments brief because you've heard most of what I did was already covered by the board members. If you have a chance, the shows are incredible. The marching band was awesome. The plays are incredible. I am a nerd, so I got all the Harry Potter references at Puff. I thought the kids were excellent. I really enjoyed it. The quality and the level of the performances is just amazing. There's really not a better way you could spend 40 minutes or an hour. It just flew by. So I just want to say that I had the privilege of going to see the high school PTSA meeting, the first in-person meeting they've had in over 20 months. It was great to see parents back on campus helping out, doing the volunteering, supporting our students in our schools. Another thing, my public service announcement is, if you're like me and I have 2 teenage boys, they don't think sleep is important. Chalk is having a sleep optimization for children and adolescents this Thursday, November 11th from 5 to 6. It's held by a pediatric psychologist, and you can go to Chalk website, scroll down to events, and register. I think sleep is really a crucial component, and we're having a lot of studies coming out saying how important it is. And if you know some of the legislation, they are changing and mandating that we cannot start schools before 8:30?
High schools can't start before 8:30 and middle schools before 8 a.m.
Right. They're
starting
trying to
next year.
Yeah, so that's a very important thing. Hopefully you'll take advantage of it. I also would like to give a shout out to 2 veterans in my life. My cousin, Tyler McDonald, I love you, brother, stay safe and sane. And my father, who also served. He didn't have the most glamorous job. He was a cook. He said he put more people in the infirmary than the enemy ever did.
Thank you, Mr. Fayette. So now we will not have a recess and move on to public comments. The board welcomes input from the public. This is the opportunity for community members to provide public comment to the board on agenda items or items not listed on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board should complete a speaker request card Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment is limited to a total of 30 minutes. A speaker may not relinquish her or his time to another person. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to address the board from the podium, state their name, and adhere to time limits. The board may not take action or discuss any item not appearing on the posted agenda and cannot immediately respond to public comments. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because those comments are made at a public hearing. So we're limited to 30 minutes with 3-minute speeches. So what we've done in the past, recent past, is to have a motion to make the 30 minutes unlimited so that everyone can have the opportunity to speak, but reduce the speaking time to 2 minutes. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I will second, but I am curious, how many cards do we have so far? Do we know?
Yeah, I'm getting kind of good at this. I'd say about 50.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
Mrs. D'Angelo, do we know the number? How many currently? 45? 45.
close.
Good job.
And so one of the things to try to help streamline it in the past, we try to get better at each board meeting. We've listed them all in a Google document. We'll post the names of the speakers who will be speaking so you can kind of see your order, so you can kind of queue up, as well as I think they have a list in the overflow room as well. So you can kind of take a look at your order, and then they have a few more to add at the bottom. But Mrs. D'Angelo, if you want to go ahead and list the order, and then anybody, there are alcohol wipes. If you want the podium wiped down, you can certainly do that before you speak. There will be when the yellow light clicks in, that means you have 1 minute left to speak, I believe.
So we will begin with Rachel Sand. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Fayette. So we'll begin with Rachel Sandoval, followed by Donna McGuire and Stacy Muller. Rachel Sandoval. I don't know if she's in the other room. So while we're waiting to see if she comes from the other room, Donna McGuire.
So I'd like to address first Diana Hill on the PR. That was me. We all know that's me. You didn't start doing your PR until we started the recall. So that's just put that on the table. It is what it is. That does give you a chance to tell everybody what you've been doing during the week. But that's the timing of when you decided you'd start telling everybody what you did. Because you're right, we didn't listen to the rest of the meeting. Brown Act. Really glad for that explanation because I was wondering if you actually understood the Brown Act. So what we're all probably here for, and I hate that we're here for this, is Marlis. John Wooden once said, being a role model is the most powerful form of educating. I'd also like to read the word, or the definition of the word integrity, the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles and moral uprightness. Ma'am, you do not meet any of these guidelines. So I'd like to read, I started a petition of which we have almost 535 signatures, took very few days to get those. You do not belong here. If you had integrity, and if this board had integrity, you would not be sitting here tonight. We've asked for your immediate resignation. Please don't embarrass us anymore. You've already embarrassed yourself. And this board, based on the bylaws that we read, she speaks for this board. Unless you come out and say that she does not represent you, she has just spoken for the whole board. So I'm horribly disappointed. I'm extremely embarrassed, and none of you represent me, and you've lost all of my respect.
Is Lauren Sandoval here? Okay, Stacy Muller.
Thank you, Donna. I'm Stacy Muller, and I represent the parents and community members in this district who are unhappy with the board, and there are a lot of us. We are conservatives, we are Democrats, we are independents, and we are Republicans. There are many emotions. I'm going to deal with the facts. We've had a recall in place for Scott, Meg, and Chris because of our disapproval of this board, and we are aggressively pursuing this recall. Now, the elected president of the board, Marlis Davidson, said something I'm not allowed to say, F you, to a mother under her breath on a hot mic at the last board meeting. This issue is totally separate from our recall. Marlis, I know you didn't mean to say that. I know emotions were high. I know you didn't mean to get caught on a hot mic saying it. And I also know that you apologized to everybody. We forgive you, Marlis, and we want your resignation. The facts are, I'm talking. The facts are, Marlis, these are grounds for your resignation, period. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter, independent. You alone set the bar at this district, and it is down there, okay? Now, you staying here, Marlis, keeps the bar down there and means you're above the law, and that an apology fixes everything. And that's not the way the world works, and you know that. You can't be hurtful and apologize and think it's over. I'm sorry. When you do the right thing and resign, you raise the bar back up. The kids are watching, the parents are watching, and the world is watching.
Our next speakers are Hope Horning, Dorothy Farrell, Nicole Horton.
Hope Horning. I was an elected member of a public school board, and I attended state school board association meetings where workshops were conducted on how to make parents in the community feel like they were being heard, not to actually listen and learn from the free flow of ideas. But I am glad to hear that you will see about putting mandates on your agenda, because a mandate is not a law. The Supreme Court recently noted with mandates, there are grave and constitutional issues. Your own school board's bylaws hold parents and speakers at board meetings to a much higher standard. I wonder what Mrs. Davidson's reaction would have been if a parent had said F you to her. Would she forgive them? Would she have considered it a threat? Would she ban that parent from attending or speaking at any further board meetings? Would she have called the FBI to investigate the parent? Would the FBI storm that parent's door at 6 a.m. with guns drawn and arresting them as domestic terrorists? Mrs. Davidson's FU has been heard on local, national, and international news broadcasts around the world. I've been involved in political campaigns since Robert Kennedy's in 1968, and I'm telling you that if you don't resign now, your FU clip will be heard in every conservative's campaign ad in 2022. If you really cared, then set your ego aside and spare us that embarrassment and humiliation and show your real respect for this community by simply resigning now.
Dorothy Farrell. Dorothy Farrell.
Dorothy Farrell. And boy, what a meeting last time, huh? Well, right now, what I'd like to do is from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Scott, and thank you, Marls, because what you did is you busted it wide open, okay? Your true feelings were felt throughout the community, and yes, the nation and the world, and it ain't going away. You've tried to silence us. You've called us a small group of disgruntled parents and pushed us to the back. We will not be silenced. We are moving forward with this recall. We're on the streets. I don't know if you guys have noticed. We're all over the streets talking to voters and talking to parents. We're not a small group. This recall will move forward. We will recall 3 of you, we will replace 2 of you, and we will put people on this board that respect the wishes of the parents and the conservative community that we live in.
Nicole South, I'm sorry, Nicole Horton, okay. Nicole Horton, followed by Steve Miller, followed by Nicole S.
Good evening. I'm a parent of 2 young students enrolled at Weaver Elementary. I'm here today just to show my support and to thank you for your efforts in executing the state mandates as it pertains to health requirements and inclusive curriculum for our students. A few months back, it was a fellow resident that had referenced the divisiveness and turmoil caused by the civil rights movement. As we're all aware, there were several community members and Americans that were staunchly against desegregation efforts. But like you, in the face of opposition, local governments had to follow suit with state and federal mandates and regulations put in place at that time. From '99 to '03, I attended Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon. I was one of 20 some odd Black students on a campus of 2,000. I experienced prejudice, other students openly assuming I was attending school on a track scholarship when it was my academic excellence that got me there. I experienced hate, seeing swastikas and the N-word carved into the dorm elevators. I experienced ignorance. A dorm mate of mine from Nebraska was in shock when she saw a black rag doll on my bed. She had no clue that they made dolls that weren't white. While I had my fair share of challenges in college, I also had the opportunity to expand horizons and effect change. My last year there with my fellow Black Student Union members, we convinced the college to recognize MLK Day for the first time in the college's history. We put on a full day of programming for the entire campus that included implicit bias workshops along with celebrating Black culture. I too, in the face of opposition as a teenager and young adult, took on the work of effecting positive change on a large scale. Imagine the positive impact that a more inclusive and historically accurate curriculum could have in minimizing the overall ignorance, prejudice, and hate that our children might experience. Point being, change can be hard. While not easy, history has showed us time and time again that when we change for the better, we all grow and come out better. Please continue along your course to be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Miller, followed by Nicole S., and then Del Clark.
And just for clarification, when the yellow light comes on, it means you have 30 seconds. I apologize.
Steve Miller, McGaw Elementary. I always follow the really hard people. I spent like this morning, I typed up this letter, and it's 3 things I really want to talk about. But this is insane. This is like really disheartening. I was leaving today, and my daughter's like, why do you have so many meetings you always have to go to? And this stuff is important. But what's going on like in this room right now isn't going to make any child's life better. There was a circumstance that happened, an unfortunate, like controversial circumstance that happened 3 years ago, and I spoke up about it. I was very vocal. I gave my opinions. I didn't go seek the media for any of this stuff. Did the media come to me? Yeah, and I spoke, and I won't hide that fact. But I didn't make signs and go protest in front of a school board meeting or in front of our school. I worked really hard at our school. I spent a lot of time volunteering at our school, and I spoke with the person who I had an issue with, and we talked about our differences, and we talked about, more importantly, what we had in common. What we had in common was what we all cared for, the students at McGaw Elementary. I put on an auction that year. I had up an auction that year that raised $43,000. I just finished my 4th auction. My point of this is that none of this like craziness is going to make any students' lives better. You know, like we can have differences. I had a difference with her, but we came together what was important. And what was important is that we have like different aspects of everything. This school board has got great representation. We have people from here, like I mean, that's what our community is, right? Our community is very split. I think in Scott's district, my district, it was like 28, 26, for yes on the recall, 28, 26 for no on the recall. That's what we want. We don't want a school board that is strictly this leaning this way or strictly in this way or squarely down the middle. We want like that great aspect. So this is insane. This really, it's like, I think like, what can I do to make a child's life better? What can I do to make my daughter's life better? This isn't it. My favorite saying is that the meaning in life is to find your gift, that your purpose in life is to give it away. This is not it. I promise you that. And this sucks, I think. So have a good evening.
Nicole S., Del Clark, and then Denise Miller.
Hi, my name is Nicole. First, I want to say I support Marlis and this board. Please do not sign any petitions for recalls. Marlis was an amazing teacher in this district for many years and continues to be an important, respected, and well-loved member of this community. She was my daughter's favorite teacher in middle school and the reason she voted in her first election when she turned 18. I still have no doubt she made the right choice. Although I agree that no one should be cussing at people under their breath, we all have our limits. A favorite kindergarten teacher in this district tells her students all the time that she makes mistakes every day, and I know that I do as well. Marlis has apologized, and I hope we can all agree that she is a fallible human just like the rest of us, and I hope we can move forward so she can continue to help to do what is best for the students and the community. During these very difficult and stressful past 20 months, these board members have been called names and treated rudely. The LaSalle PD even recommended a meeting be held online for fear of violence, and yet the board has shown up for every meeting, and they have extended the comment time numerous times to hear all the comments. I'm not sure how many of us could sit there for an hour or two at each meeting and just take all of that without reaching a limit. Let he who has no sin cast the first stone. Please, let's save our time and energy, and don't forget all the money the district will have to spend for a recall. I read it could cost approximately $70,000 to $115,000 with signature verifications, when those monies could be used for other educational purposes instead. Instead of focusing on Marlis and recalling some of the other board members right now, let's focus on our kids, their education, and their well-being in this community. This community as a whole voted for these board members, and if the community is not happy with some of them, then they will have an opportunity to vote next year in the regular election as intended. Let's do what we can right now to make this community better through unity. I support Marlis and the other board members. Please do not sign any petitions for a recall. Thank you.
Thank you. So Del Clark, Denise Miller, and if Rachel Sandoval is here.
I'm here to give the board a gift. My gift is that my talk is going to be nonverbal, because what I believe is that these folks who have recall, resign posters, they've come in already with their opinions, with whatever it is that they are about. My words, words of reason or whatever, are never heard. So what I'm going to give to you is, for the remaining moments that I have, I'm going to be silent. You can relax and take a deep breath, because you are going to be in for another barrage. And I want to thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Love to your families. Take care. So now we're silent. When that happens, I get 5 seconds back. Another 5, that's 10. Ah, how sweet it is. I have a comment right now because I have 19 seconds. I think we need a suffix to the resign. Marlis is resigned to not resign. Thank you.
Denise Miller.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Denise Miller, and I reside in Rossmoor. I have many things I would like to say in response to things I've read about you, our board members, our administration, our school district, but I will focus on two issues. The first are comments from some of our community members who say that they didn't know about curriculum proposals or that they were left out of conversations. Los Alamitos Unified School District publishes most of its intended or considered actions ages in advance of taking any action on them. The wider school community of parents, students, taxpayers, teachers, and staff are all invited to comment on your actions. Your email addresses are published. They're public. To those who say, I didn't know, my response is this: because you choose not to engage. Please stop blaming others for your personal choices. Number two, some feel that they've been left out of decision-making. I was quite involved in many aspects of this district when my children were enrolled. My husband, on the other hand, worked in downtown Los Angeles 70 hours a week, yet he was also able to engage with the schools and the administration in a variety of ways. We have chaired fundraisers, been sport booster officers, sat on blue ribbon panels, and more. We've lived in the boundaries of this district for 32 years, even before we had children, and we've chosen to be engaged. Your predecessors have always had an open door policy for the community, and each of you has continued that tradition. Don't listen to the folks who say, I was left out or I didn't know. That was their choice. Finally, Mrs. Davidson, please do not consider resigning your position. You made a gaffe, you immediately owned it, and you issued a genuine and sincere apology. When I was rearing my children, that is all I asked of them, to acknowledge their behavior and apologize. You've done that. I applaud you for that, and I ask nothing else of you. Be strong.
Okay. Joanne Levy, Heather Roberts, Josh Spiller.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Levy, and I have known Tina Heron for 18 years, and I'm here to tell you that she's an extraordinary counselor, is held in the highest esteem by those who've benefited from her expertise, and she needs to be returned to her work and her students. I have lived in Rossmoor for 29 years. We moved here so that my children could attend the schools, and during those years, I've sat on every single PTA board, school site council, booster club boards, and I've been very actively involved in this district. After retiring, I worked in this district as a speech-language therapist, and since 2002, as a substitute teacher in both regular ed and special ed, and I've spent hundreds upon hundreds of hours on our high school campus. Tina was my children's high school counselor, but I also interfaced with her many times as she advocated for students at the high school. In each interaction, she exemplified professionalism, dedication, compassion, and honesty. My daughter graduated in the top 10 of her class and would have done just as well with any counselor at the high school. But Tina recognized that a student who took 4 AP classes on top of a bunch of extracurriculars could also be an at-risk student. When she went out on her maternity leave, she took the time to check up on my daughter, make sure that all of her college applications and letters of recommendation were in. My son, on the other hand, had learning and social challenges. He wasn't a discipline problem, but he was a square peg in a round hole. Ben started high school in a wheelchair, having broken his leg over the summer. He was supposed to be in the marching band and in the drum line. The wheelchair made quite an impact on that, and he wasn't able to get to know some of the other kids. It created tremendous barriers. From day one, Tina saw something in Ben that others didn't, and she found a new group for him to belong to. She also knew that given the right teachers, he could thrive in regular ed rather than special ed. It wasn't easy. Tina also recognized that I was struggling to step back from and allow Ben the space he needed to navigate extremely uncomfortable situations that he managed to get himself into. I cried in her office on more than one occasion. I'm sorry. Okay.
Heather Roberts, Josh Spiller, Kim Louboutin. Heather Roberts. Okay. Okay. Josh Spiller. Okay. I'm saying this wrong, Louboutin. Oh, okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Kim Labutana, and this is my second time speaking up here, and I found it traumatizing the last time 4 months ago. I'm a data scientist. I was the one that spoke about it being the sexiest career out there. You-hoo-hoo. I decided I didn't have enough time to write a new speech, so I decided to read my letter that I wrote following the faux pas. So my subject line is Support California State Mandate on Masks and Vaccines. Dr. Pulver, I'm a data scientist and spoke at one of the meetings supporting the ethnic studies curriculum early in the year. I forgot to mention, I am 27 years in Rossmoor. Kids went to Hopkinson, Oak, and of course the high school. I get to joke that I turn left at the Trump 1 sign, and if you go too far down by the beautiful treehouse, you're too far down. So, and but with that said, we moved only to we only moved into this neighborhood enslaved in 1994 to get in here, every penny. So I'm grateful now, you know, house rich, cash poor, but in turn, we'd come down to a huge discernment process, private school, not private school, where do we want to move, blah, 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 blah. Came down to that it was either University High in Irvine or it was Los Alamitos Unified. That was our end game for why we bought a home here. And I wanted a good prep education. Hopefully I was going to be giving you kids that were worthy of a prep education, and it turned out I did, but there were some questions there at times. But I want to say, it's disheartening to attend a meeting and listen to the anti-science crowd. Although I pay a few extra dollars to see Rudy Krause again, if you're here, oh my God. I am still giggling. I have shared that video with all of my peers. We love it. I left at the start of the presentation that had foul language, where the infamous word got dropped on a hot mic and was heard from the people at home, not in the meeting. But
Thank you. Amy Lonsbury, Leland J., Emily Hazenbloom. Sorry.
I'm going to have something very short and sweet. Thank you for allowing us all to share our thoughts. If I could have made this a haiku and shorter, I would have, but I'm a terrible writer. But basically, I'd like to just share my appreciation for the entire board. This has been the hardest year in maybe history of this school district. I just want to call out each of you. Thank you, Marlis Davidson, Meg Catulli, Chris Forehand, Diana Hill, and Scott Fayette. Thank you for everything that you've done in a really trying time. It's incredible that we are the first district in Orange County to open up in-person learning during COVID. Bravo. For us to have won the 2021 National Blue Ribbon Schools Awards for 2 of our schools is a huge accomplishment. Thank you. So, audience out watching YouTube, folks here, if you want to support this board and you're poking around to try to find facts and see some perspectives, I encourage you to please visit www.supportlausd.com. That's www.supportlausd.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Leland J.
Good evening, board. My name is Leland J. Chris Forehand is my representative. I've seen him walk to school with our kids. He's helped out in middle school kitchens. He attends every concert and show in the district. He writes handwritten letters of support to special needs parents in our district. He is quite extraordinary, and I didn't even vote for him. But I'm proud he's my representative. Diana Hill, no one can question your devotion and dedication to our district and our community. Anyone who was paying attention during the ethnic studies vote saw that you listened to the students who were in pain. You showed again that you care about our community and our kids, and I want to sincerely thank you for that. Madam President, yes, you made a mistake. We've all made mistakes, but what's been lost here is that you are a great example of what to do when you make a mistake. You own it and you apologize. Imagine our community, imagine our world if everyone who made a mistake did the same. It's now been 6 months since the town hall about our school board where a speaker told the audience to, quote, make their lives miserable, end quote. The fact that you are willing to endure this firestorm for us, for our community, to try to keep things together here actually deepens the love and gratitude that many of us have for you and your decades of service to public education. Meg Catuli, in the summer of 2020, I wrote an email to the board right after I lost a friend to COVID. His daughter went to LAE. I was urging caution about the reopening protocols because at the time there was so much that we didn't know. You sent me the kindest email back, not about politics or protocols, just a very empathetic letter about the loss of my friend. Oftentimes, it's the kindness from someone you don't even know that has an impact, and your kind words left an impact on me, and I want to sincerely thank you for that. Scott Fayette, in 2014, when my daughter was in preschool, I actually sat in on different PTA meetings to decide where to send her, and there was one elementary school at the time that had 2 dads on the PTA executive board. One of the dads was Scott Fayette. Scott didn't even know me, but he could tell I was stressed out, and he talked with me for about 20 minutes about our district and our schools, and I remember he said to me, Leland, all the schools are good here. Scott, I'll never forget the kindness you showed me that day. You're a great dad, a teacher, a valued member of our community, and a kind and decent human being who cares about the schools and
Emily, thank you. Then Sally Hirsch and Rebecca Romo.
All right. Good evening. My name is Emily Hogenboom. I grew up in a home where science was important. My father is a retired physics professor, so everything always had a reason. My sister and I were also encouraged from a young age by both of my parents to think about how our actions may affect others. Both of these values seem to have been forgotten by some in attendance here. Science saves lives. Science tells us that the COVID vaccine is safe and effective. Science tells us that masks help to limit or at least decrease the spread of COVID. No one likes wearing a mask, but we do it to keep others safe. Others who can't get vaccinated or who have health concerns that put them at greater risk. I wanted to share my 11-year-olds got their first vaccine this past Saturday. For the naysayers out here, the waiting room at their pediatrician's office was packed with families waiting to get in at 8:30 a.m. on a Saturday, and the nurse said they had been overwhelmed with calls to get appointments. This was here in LaSalle. Folks, it's simple. If more people get vaccinated, there will be fewer cases of COVID, and we could take these masks off, even in school. Think about someone else other than yourself. As those who have served know, there is no I in team. You put other people's safety and well-being ahead of your own. What has happened to us? In the last few years, as a people, Americans have become so divisive, so myopic in their thinking, and egocentric. Let's not let this disease affect.
So once again, I'll try for, after, following then next, Josh Spiller and Rachel Sandoval, if they're here. I think they aren't here.
Just a reminder, I just want to remind, only the person recognized by the board president should be able to be speaking. Everyone has, a lot of you want to be able to speak. We want to make sure everyone's treated with the same respect, that we can hear their comments. So only the person speaking. If the members of the audience can't listen attentively and quietly, you're out of order. And we would just respect that we can have a respectful audience so that we can hear artfully every person who's speaking. Thank you.
My name is Sally Hirsch. I'm a retired school teacher. I taught in Los Alamitos for 26 years. I loved this district, and I love our school, and we all work together, and that's why the school district is so well known everywhere. And so I know we all know we make mistakes. But is If there is anyone in this room that has never said a word or a sentence that he would like to take or she would like to take back, I want you to stand up. If you have never said anything that you would like to take back. And well, for the rest of us, I would like for you to remember the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Thank you. Rebecca Romo, Allison Golden, and then Reverend John Dodge.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Dr. Rebecca Romo. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a clinical psychologist and mother of 2 here in the Los Alamitos School District. I am here to offer my support and to say thank you to Dr. Pulver, President Davidson, and to the entire school board. Your job isn't easy, and frankly, I don't know how you do it. As the daughter of 2 public school teachers, I love public schools. I love what they stand for. For me, they are the cornerstone of democracy with a small d, where all are welcome and we all have to learn to work together. Public schools are microcosms of what will be the larger society, and I believe that exposure prepares students for success in the larger world. For me, public schools are pluralism at its finest, e pluribus unum, of many one. But pluralism is hard, and it can feel threatening to some, and it can feel too slow to others. And there are those who remain unrecognized until we learn how to listen to them, opening our eyes and hearts a little more. But this huge responsibility of figuring out how to do this here, that's your job. And I'm appreciative that you are doing it. I want you to know that I see you. And I know that even when I can't get everything I may want, or others as well, that you cannot meet the demands of any one particular person or group because you have to focus on the collective whole. I've seen you work to create a space for the collective good in how you design the hybrid and online programs that sustained us all last year. We had so many more opportunities than the larger districts had who couldn't be so nimble. We had it really easy compared to those districts. I am grateful. I've seen you commit to the greater good through masking requirements. I hope you will keep them. By doing so, you prevent airborne viral load, thus reducing infection, disability, and death, and may prevent further mutations from forming. Even though we are all sick of these things, they're important.
Thank you. Allison Golden, Reverend John Dodge, Amy Hanf.
Good day. My name's Allison Golden, and first, I would like to say that I do not support this no recall or this recall of the 3 board members, nor the resignation of President Davidson. I'm here tonight to express my gratitude and to thank Superintendent Dr. Pulver, President Davidson, and the rest of the school board members for all of their support. By putting the education of our children first and not eliminating the Los Alamitos High School Ethnic Studies class. The school board, you should know that I was proud that the school board was not swayed by the mendacious statements made by parents in this community. I'm also pleased that our school district is among many districts that are complying with the state COVID mask mandates safety protocol. You board members need to know that you are demonstrating in real time to our children what good citizenship looks like. It has been difficult to witness the moral gangrene of these parents advocating for the recall of various members on the board, because these parents and agitators are willfully perpetrating misinformation when they launch these recalls. One would have to be living in Siberia not to know that these recalls are being deployed nationally from the East Coast to the West Coast. Like the canary in the coal mine, the majority of the community will not sit silent.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Reverend John Dodge. Oh, sorry. Reverend John Dodge.
Thank you. All right, I'm taller. We'll try it this way. Thank you, Madam President, esteemed members of the board, and Superintendent Pulver. My name is the Reverend Johann Dodge, he, him, and there's a lot of animosity in the crowd tonight, feeling like folks are unheard. Imagine if you are someone for whom normal, what we've called normal, whatever that is, pronouns don't apply, right? And how you have been unheard until now. I have 2 children in the district. I'm a pastor in Seal Beach. I'm grateful for your work and your diligence. We are all human. We all make mistakes. I've made a couple just trying to get these words out. The minimum cost of a recall is likely to be $100,000. I guarantee there's a better way to spend $100,000 in the district. And if I were in church, I would say, can I get an amen? 2 blue ribbon schools, the first to reopen. Our children are mandated to receive some 20 vaccine jabs to attend school. These are no different. They're just newer. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Hoff, Matthew Simmons, Brian Leibel. Okay, Matthew Simmons.
Hi, my name is Matthew Simmons. First off, I just want to say there's no such thing as a vaccine for a virus. That does not exist and never will. The CDC changed the definition of a vaccine to something that from something that provides immunity to something that stimulates immunity in your system. So technically, vitamin C could be a vaccine. So thank you to the science people. The other thing is, as far as masks, there are also studies from Georgia with 90,000 students that the masks showed no statistical significance of helping. What I find despicable is what happened was a national embarrassment, and the apology from Marlis was completely shallow and fake and insincere. She sent her sister and friend to a protest that was demanding the resignation, and they were harassing Lauren, who was the recipient of the FU. So I think somebody who was sincere, they would not do that. The other part is it wasn't a bad word that caused the problem. It was the attitude. Nobody was surprised who comes to these meetings week after week, not just the people who are called in to stand up. I'm talking about the parents who come in week after week, and they know this was no surprise to them. It was simply the mask came off. And I'm concerned that my daughter, she already recovered from COVID after 1.5 days of sneezing, and no, it's serious. So and my wife had allergic reaction, and still does. And there's a study just today that came out in the Journal of American Medicine Association that basically says she'd have a higher increased chance of getting COVID if she gets the vaccine within 6 months of recovering naturally. So you are harming my child, and that's despicable. That's evil. You should never stand up for a mandate. Nobody can force you to do evil.
Okay, Brian Leibel.
Good evening. My name is Brian Leibel. My wife, Christine, and I live in Rossmoor, and we are the proud parents of 3 LaSalle grads, with the youngest graduating in 2020. We are here tonight to reaffirm our family's unwavering support of Tina Herron. All 3 of our children were fortunate to have Tina as their counselor. She was and still is a trusted adult voice who is not named mom or dad. Tina has always been there for them, as she is for all her students. She is always accessible and responsive, no matter if it is after school hours, weekends, holidays, or summer vacation. Tina doesn't do this for self-promotion or extra pay. She does it because she is a selfless advocate for the students of our community. She has been sidelined for nearly 4 months, creating a void to hundreds of students that are being impacted by not having her guidance and support during these incredibly stressful times, especially her senior students that have gone through so much since the start of the pandemic and under tremendous pressure in the mapping out of their next chapter after high school. Tina and Jeff work, live, and raise their children in this community. They give back by donating their time and money to the various organizations that support our district. I am sure this leave is causing unnecessary strain and stress to Tina and her family, as well as all of us in the community that know her character and the way she always puts the interest of her students first. Please help wrap this up and get her back to mentoring and guiding the kids of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Kelly Mogg.
Hi, I'm Kelly Mogg, a resident of Rossmoor, and I'm here in support of Tina Herron. Not every student falls in the LaSalle box. My child was the one that didn't fall in that box. Tina helped us in more ways than you can ever imagine. Tina was there to support my son in the darkest days and get him through. Not only did she get him through his freshman year, then we had COVID and we did the LaSalle at home, and she followed up weekly with him. Everybody has a drive in life, and her drive is her kids. And when I mean her kids, I mean all of her students that she helps. She has done more for my child than I can ever thank her for. And she needs to be back into that office to help all those students. That is where she belongs.
Thank you. Cannon Mogg, then Catherine Gay, and then Tracy Garton.
Hello, I'm Cannon. I'm here to provide my support for Tina. All I can really say is that on my first year of high school, it was a very stressful and dark time for me. It was a very hard transition from going from middle school to the high school environment. And I could say whenever I had any problems, Tina was always there to provide a helping hand or help problem solve the problem I was having and find a solution to help get me through. She was the one person that was always there and was like a second mom to me at school. That's all I really want to say, and that she was just amazing. You should bring her back.
Thank you. Thank you, Cannon. Catherine Yeh. Catherine here? No. Okay.
Did you call Tracy?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tracy Garton. Hello, board and administration. I am a product of this environment. My siblings and I grew up here in Los Alamitos. We attended schools here. I raised my children here, and they too attended these schools. My youngest is currently attending LaSalle High School. And in addition to that background, I have taught in these schools for many years. You, the board, are a selected group. You have been elected for your positions. The taxpayers in this community are voted to have you represent the members of the society and our children's best interests. We ask that you listen and support us. We do not support your alliance with woke ideologies. Teaching CRT under the guise of ethnic studies is polluting our youth's minds and hearts. I read the teacher's manual at the high school, even though my appointment was not kept by Mr. Favor. He did arrange it with me, though, to be there at that time that he was not available. It pretends this curriculum pretends to unite all races, and it starts with let's just get along. And it has that mentality in the get-go. But as you get deeper into the content, I read that it's really about dividing. It divides, it separates, it angers, it opposes, it oppresses, it opposes races into diverse and hateful groups. This is not a good solution for kids who already struggle as a teen, trying to fit in. Imagine what it does to a student who is already suffering this year with depression, with suicidal thoughts, and not belonging. What have we heard all these years along about kids that enter the gangs and join gangs? Who joins them? Well,
thank you. Jenilyn Yangberg, followed by Maria Palma and Leah L.
First of all, my name is Jenilyn Youngberg. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am a LaSalle graduate, 2017, and from what I've seen and heard about you, I am truly disgusted how horrible of a person you are to these students, to my friends and family who were part of the school system. You have humiliated these parents and suppressing them from the school system when you should be allowing them to be part of their children's lives, the people that you are teaching. You are a worthless human being if you are suppressing these parents. Good on you.
Catherine Yee or Amy Hoff, are you here? Oh, Catherine, thank you.
Whenever, okay, I'm ready, okay. I'm a LaSalle parent and educator, here to address the misinformation dividing our community. Regardless of district leadership or parents' personal stance around inclusion and mask mandates, all public schools, including LaSalle, must follow county and state regulations. Senate Bill 1266, SB 827, SB 48, also called the Fair Education Act, signed into law 10 years ago. The FAIR Act requires all public schools to provide fair, accurate, inclusive, and respectful representations of ethnic and cultural populations, including both men and women, Native Americans, African Americans, Mexican Americans, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, LGBTQ+ Americans, and persons with disabilities. These bills are not asking to exclude other ethnic and cultural populations, but acknowledges that the groups listed have often been excluded in prior curriculum. Moving beyond these baseless, isolated social media claims about woke education, about what is being taught in classrooms, LaSalle teachers are the same. The curriculum continues to be the same. In truth, my children have yet to read a story or explicitly learn about someone in the LGBTQ+ populations. What are we teaching our children? If we act as if certain members of our community is invisible or is deviant. Across the nation, more hate crimes were reported last year than any year since 2008. More Americans are attacked based on their race, ethnicity, and sexual orientation. Data was released by the FBI in September. Our children see and hear everything we do and learn from us. They are a reflection of who we are. Who are we? Who do we want them to be? Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Palma, Leah L., Claire C.
These are my concerns. Masks. According to the CDC, wearing a surgical mask won't stop the wearer from inhaling small airborne particles, which can cause infection. And according to the Mayo Clinic, children who are infected don't become as sick as adults. Vaccines. The director of the CDC said the COVID-19 variant is gone, and currently when people are getting sick, it's a Delta variant, and that the COVID shot doesn't treat the Delta variant, and young, healthy children don't need the vaccine. The board. U.S. school board members should know some of this info and do some research if you care so much about the children. We did our research as parents because we care, so I don't appreciate Scott saying that we're putting ourselves first and it's a political agenda. Caring about our children is not political at all. We are concerned parents. These are some issues parents are concerned about, and if you board members are not going to do the research and instead call us being political, then we will certainly find board members who will do the research and who won't criticize and say F you to a concerned parent. We'll find board members who will collaborate with us parents to write to the governor, to take some of these concerns, such as San Juan Capistrano did. As a team, rather than one writing to the governor, is best. Oh, and Marlis, one of the rules of the board members, you cannot respond to public comments. Remember that rule? With that FU to a parent's comment afterwards, you broke your rule, didn't you? Yes, you said I'm sorry, but what you said shows really what was in your heart. Marlis is a bad example for our community and school district. After all, your actions, what choice do we have? None other than find other board members that show they care. Scott, in the last meeting, you ended your speech to parents by quoting the Serenity Prayer. Then shortly afterward, your parents curses at a parent. What a double standard. So you said it, Scott, in that quote. With that, I am going to have the courage to change the things I can. You all remember, actions do speak louder than words.
Thank you. Leah L, and then Leah L, and then Claire C, then Kim Frankie.
Hi, Mrs. Davidson. Your statement on the hot mic shows your true feelings about the parents of the students of the district that you represent. It seems to me that parents are just a nuisance for you, a pain in the neck that you wish that you never had to deal with, that you wish they just all disappear. You also believe that the board is the ones who should make all the decisions about the curriculums, not the parents. Your attitude towards parents is the same as the defeated gubernatorial candidate in Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, who said parents should not interfere in their children's curriculum at school. You know how that turned out, a fatal mistake. The party of Parents Last was defeated overwhelmingly in that state and in other parts of the country. Ms. Davidson, you embarrassed your community, and we demand nothing less than that you step down and resign.
Claire C, followed by Kim Frankie, and then Dan Brandt.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak here. And I saw the lady and always, say she loves you here. And I should say I love this country. I love California. I love this community. I love everyone. And for couple of things I want to say, but I don't know if I have enough time. Okay, for the critical race theory, I should say this is totally applied communist ideology. And its concept of that is the oppressor and the oppressed. That's totally, it's on the two opposite sides. But actually in our country, we kind of we united as one. Why you need to divide people with the oppressor and the oppressed. I have totally no idea. It's a wrong philosophy. We should not teach in our schools. So I strongly oppose the critical race theory because I came from that evil communist country, China. I know how those kind of like theory and those kind of ideology will ruin those young generations. Just to put into mind, the curriculum of the critical race theory is totally wrong. And another thing is for the vaccine. You have the basic idea that in the countries who has the more than half population got vaccinated, actually, currently they suffered much more higher percentage of the COVID-19 effect.
Thank you. Kim Franke and Dan Brandt, and then Lauren.
Hi, Kim Frank. I just want to address the board. So many people have been coming together in unity to speak against the mass, the indoctrination, the gender confusion ideology, the CRT, the equity agenda, AKA communism, against ethnic studies, etc. We all want our children to be taught the basics, the math, the reading, the history, the true history, and our beloved Constitution and love for the country and for each other. We can all agree on that. And yet we want children rewarded for their hard work and for their good character and love for each other. We don't want them being victims, oppressors, and the boogeyman finding racism around every corner and taught that everything is an offense or that they get to decide their gender. We don't want this nonsense being taught. Or somebody just said here, a communist term, for the greater good, we should be wearing masks or doing vaccines. For the greater good is a communism term. And yet here we are, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, we're united in our love for children. I've been to many of these board meetings. Probably there's been about 10 to 20 to 1 against the proposed poisonous policies. And yet here all of this board is. You listen, you sit there, and then you completely ignore the parents whose kids are entrusted. It's unbelievable. I don't know if you're committed Marxists, determined to confuse and divide and indoctrinate our children, or just a tool of the communists. Or perhaps there's another reason for your decisions. I don't really know the reasons behind your ideology or these board decisions. But you know what? The Lord shows us what we need to know. And the true attitude of Marlis came out. What was it she said? Oh God, here we go again, when hearing an Asian mother. Or, of course, the FU to Aaron. Marlis has no place in this board because of her disrespect and contempt for the parents. No apology can erase her true attitude. That is the problem. It's her attitude. We know she's internally eye-rolling, listening to you, and then doing whatever she wants.
Dan Brandt, Lauren, and then Wendy Mucho.
How you doing? My name is Dan Brandt. I was educated by this district. I moved to this school district to have my kids educated. I'm here specifically to speak about the vaccine mandate. I'm firmly against it. I know I speak for a lot of other people in the soccer fields and the football fields and the baseball fields. We have organic conversations about this all the time. They'd like to come speak. They don't want to deal with all this. Right? So I'm here advocating for them also. I can tell you, like I said last time, I do a risk assessment for my kids. I know in Orange County we've had 2 kids that have died with COVID throughout this whole thing, and they had severe issues prior. So I know when I look at it, I go, should I have this vaccine for my kids? And I don't believe so. Even the vaccine was tested on 3,000 kids, and they want to give it to 28 million kids. You know, the federal government purchased that before they even got it approved. So that's where I have a concern. The FDA panel member said, and I'm not talking about, I'm doing mainstream news sources. I'm not on Fox or I'm not on CNN, but the idea is the panel said that they did not want to approve it for the states to give mandates. They also said they won't know the long-term effects until it's given to the kids. And that's my concern. So that's from their mouths. So I have an issue with that. I'm not here for politics, whether you're Republican, Democrat, I'm here for my kids. I can tell you, I want to thank Diana Hill for coming out and being brave and saying that I want to send a resolution to the governor. I hope that the other board members show that leadership. And I hope if we feel like we don't have support for that, send a survey out to the parents like we asked, hey, do you want to go back to school? I can guarantee you that the conversations that are out there, they want to send a resolution. They do not want the mandate. I appreciate to say, let's send information to our representatives that are politicians, but you guys aren't politicians. We need to support us.
I was told F you by the school board president for voicing concerns and mandates, a curse now heard by tens of millions all over the world, which now seems to be okay to do so because of the president of the school board did it. This is an example of the school board has offered to the world. Los Alamitos district is an international disgrace because of the people sitting up there in those chairs. All of them, and I say all of them because your silence and support for Marlon's actions is defending. Marlis, you told me over the phone that you had no intentions of resigning because you felt you needed to be held accountable for your actions. You say you have a community of communication that's hard to believe when you spoke by phone, and I asked you if you had apologized to the other mother, Claire. Your response was, I didn't know until I read the Enterprise newspaper even what her name was. So you could have gone back to the video, but if anybody wants to get her number for me, I would gladly say sorry. When I asked you what you meant by your words, oh God, here we go again, declare before she spoke, you said, I thought it was somebody else. Oh, who did you think it was then? Who? You also said you were exasperated. Exasperated means to be irritated, frustrated, someone, and instead of being that way, you should have been more caring and understanding. But it took a hot mic to show your true colors, and every single one of you after that heard it. You are not a role model. You're an embarrassment to this school board, to this community, and I demand that you resign today because the parents standing behind me will no longer settle for anything less. This district has turned into a bunch of woke activist teachers, unethical tyrants, and a corrupt leader who cares more about money and politics than our own children. The only people who stand for this are these little ones up here, retired teachers, okay? My daughter was asked by the principal at La Salle, who I wasn't even allowed to call the school because they were telling them to get to Miss Pulver. I said I was worried about my daughter's safety. When my daughter went up there and was asked if they were going to, no, I demand to talk. She said that.
Once again, the time is up. We want to make sure we have order in our meeting. Thank you very much.
Wendy?
Good evening. I'm Wendy Muco. I am here in support of Tina Herron. I have a question for all of you. What is 80? Seems like a pretty simple answer. 80 to my son is the 80 days he's been without his counselor his senior year of high school. In Mrs. Herron's case, 80 is the number of days she has not been allowed on the Los Alamitos High School campus. I first met Mrs. Herron in 2009 when she was my daughter's counselor. My daughter graduated in 2012 and is a successful member of society who lives in Rossmoor with her husband and daughter. She is still friends with Tina Herron. Mrs. Herron's character is beyond reproach. She is trustworthy at keeping family situations private. She is caring, compassionate, always fair, and is always there to lend a hand. She advises, she counsels, she supports, and she mentors all students, not just her own grand alpha. Mrs. Herron and her family are also valuable members of our community and participate in many local events. Since August 20th, over 700 students have been without the one constant in their crazy COVID-filled lives, their high school counselor, Mrs. Herron. I urge you to act on this and bring her back to campus so the seniors can have her there for their last couple months of school. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Tanya Brown, and then Michelle Locke and Amber Houston.
Tina is a treasure in our quaint community. Her support to my, excuse me, I'm tall. Her support, her outreach to my family when we need it has always been professional and empathetic. She guided me and offered me assistance when my 2 children were diagnosed as hearing impaired and when my older daughter was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I get choked up because what she's provided our family is invaluable, and I can't even imagine that she wouldn't be there for my other kids. So when encountering Tina personally, which I did very often, never did she breach confidentiality of my children, nor have I ever heard of doing so with another student. I'll put my name on that. So to hear otherwise is upsetting. I've had 5 of my children go through Los Alamitos School District, and I can say Tina knows how to separate her professional life from her personal life. As you can see by her many supporters here, I'm not alone. She deserves protections, she deserves fairness, and she deserves due process. Her accuser deserves likewise, and her story must be examined and vetted just like Tina's. What happened to Tina is grossly unjustified, and we don't want to set that precedent that can undermine this institution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Michelle Locke, and then Amber Houston and Jerry Mejia.
Oh, hi. Hi, my name is Michelle Locke, and I live in Rossmoor. My husband is David Locke, and I am the parents to Zachary and Megan Locke. Zachary graduated in 2020, and Megan is a current senior. We have been in the district all of our kids' school years. We started at Hopkinson, where my husband was the PTA president. When he moved on through all of the years to receive 2 Hero of the Hearts awards, and then went on to support Measure G and did a lot of work towards that. I attend the fundraisers, and I am supportive of him and his amazing activities, but we are very in support of the school and love the district. Every human, organization, committee, board, company has strengths and weaknesses. One of the biggest strengths of Los Alamitos High School is Tina Herron. And the reason is, I have never met a counselor that was more concerned about our children on a personal level. She gets to know each one of them and handles each one of them specific to their individual needs. I have a daughter that's a senior, and like the other parents here, we are really missing her, but I also feel for all the other students that don't have her there, whether they're seniors or not. She is so valuable to these kids, particularly in these trying times. She's not a counselor that just checks boxes and does what she needs to do to get through her day. She pays attention to every child's caring needs. For my son, I asked Zachary one day, Zach, how are you gonna know how to handle this? He says, well, I just asked Mrs. Herron. She helps me, and that's who she is. And so I implore you to help get her back into school as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Amber Houston, Jerry Mejia, and Yassine Yan.
Hi there, I'm Amber Houston. I've been a resident of Rossmoor since 2007. My sons attended Hopkinson and Oak, and now they're at the high school. During my time in this community, I've encountered many amazing educators, leaders, and families. One of the very first moms I ever met was in Prep EK. She had a spunky, smart little daughter that my son quickly gravitated to, and we became fast friends as well. Her name is Tina Heron, and I am proud to call her not only my best friend, but one of the most caring, compassionate, loyal, and dedicated counselors. Being a principal myself, I would often find myself wishing I had a counselor at my own school that was willing to give wholeheartedly, tirelessly, and passionately with all of her students. She is a believer in all kids, not just the easy ones or the cool ones or the athletic ones or the well-behaved ones, but every student in their own uniqueness. She found something positive and special in each one, and moreover, helped lead them to see it and believe it too. She always asks the why. Tina makes each student in her office feel like they are the most important person in the world, which is exactly what students need to feel like. She empowers students to find their voice and not be afraid to be themselves and stand up for what they believe in and stand up for others. Not all of the people in this district do this. It's priceless to find a counselor that goes the distance that she does. And that is why you're seeing so many of us here tonight standing up for her now. She's a friend to all and a loyal member of the USD family. And I can't tell you how many times she would stop what she was doing to take a call from a student, return an email, or show up for a kid when they needed her most. It just didn't matter if it was a Tuesday afternoon, a Friday night, a Sunday morning. She always answered the call to make sure her students and families were okay. She's LoSal's #1 cheerleader who has always defended, supported, and celebrated this district, even sometimes to her own personal sacrifices.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jerry Mejia. I'm a lifelong resident of Los Alamitos, attended all of the schools that you represent. I've been a servant to this community for over 16 years. I served as a city council member and a mayor for Los Alamitos City Council. I came here initially to address what happened at the last meeting, but I will say Tina Heron is someone you don't want to lose. I haven't seen Tina for many years, and she remembered my son, she remembered me, we had discussions about specifics. So she's someone who isn't just interested in you in the moment, but in the long run. And then also I would like to say I'm not here to be political. I've been in your spots, but I have to tell you, it is your job to take the hard hits when you are not in sync with your community. I've had to do it myself. I've had to sit there for many hours, and I've always tried to be polite. But I will tell you, the intolerance that was showed by your response, Marlis, isn't acceptable. You are the leader of this community, and when I mean that, I mean the school district. And you have to lead by example. What do we say to our children if they were to in turn get frustrated with a teacher or a teacher with them and they were to say F you to each other? What happens then? They can say, well, you can't do anything because Miss Davidson got away with it, so I can too. You understand what I'm saying? It's a precedence that you're setting here. I don't have anything against you personally. I just think that you should do the honorable thing and step aside because it has been something that's negatively impacted this community, and it isn't fair to all of us because we don't run around saying those things, and because you represent us, that makes it look like we're condoning what you did. And in addition, I've served with some of you up there on the board, and I wish you would have stood up and said something with regards to this because it's really disheartening. And it's really alarming that immediately you did not step down. And it's not personal. I'm not here to be one side or the other. I just think that you should do what you're supposed to.
Thank you. Yassine Yang, Tara Parisian, Janine Ball.
First of all, my name is Yasing. I have 2 daughters who have been in this district for 12 years. I want to thank the parents present and the board and also the parents who are viewing this for their keen commitment to the welfare and the education of our kids. I also want to thank the board for being open to discussion and also resolution about the illegal COVID coercion techniques for submission. In the past 2 weeks, I have been rallying with World War II veterans who are probably the bravest and most heroic generation in America. And I'm sure some of you are descendants of that heroism and bravery. They fought abroad in other lands to secure our freedoms here on this land. We now have a divisive civil war where our freedoms are jeopardized. I have also rallied with fellow Americans who are fighting to preserve our constitutional freedoms: essential workers, police, firefighters, teachers, dock workers, parents, fighting against illegal, coercive COVID terrorism, for our freedom of choice, for our livelihoods, for our children's well-being. Who suffers when a child is sick from these investigational injections? Not the pharma, not the CDC or FDA, not the employers. Who suffers and pays when a mom advocates for these experimental injections and then her sons end up getting myocarditis, ends up spending days in the hospital, all that suffering, all that medical cost, loss of work? Who pays? How about when a single father who absolutely advocates for these injections has his only child die of those injections? Who pays? Who suffers? How about when our King Newsom gets a booster shot and possibly got GBS?
Thank you. Thank you. Tara, then Janine Ball, and Matt Filler.
I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you. Thank you.
No, we have Tara and then Janine Ball and then Matt Filler. Is Tara here? Janine Ball?
I'm Janine Ball. I've known Marlis for about 17 years. My son was in her class at McAuliffe. I think he was around 13 at the time, and he hated to write. He was one of those kids that if you said write 200 words, he'd get to 199 and then try to stretch it somehow. And it was only because of Marlis that he learned how to research and to read and write and use critical thinking skills to form really good sentences and really good paragraphs and ultimately good writing. He's now 30 years old. He has an outstanding career in which he writes 100-page reports. It was only because of Marlis that he had the opportunity to understand that he had an ability and the wherewithal to create that. We thank her for creating a district that's superior, not only in this area, but in the entire country. Additionally, I've known, coincidentally, Tina Heron for about 17 years. In that time, she supported our students with emotional, mental, and academic support. There are kids who were on the border of suicide who she would walk back. And in that journey, she would ask teachers, and teachers would go to her, and it was always that collaboration that you found with Marlis and with Tina that makes this district superior. I'm appalled that this country is now unifying to show up at school board meetings to bring these people down and to bring these school districts down. How dare you?
She's here? Is Tara here? Tara? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, Tara and then Matt. Thank you.
Good evening, President Marlis, Dr. Pulver, and the board.
I want to start with gratitude, which was a precedent set by the board, which I think is a wonderful time to reflect on the amazing things that our school district does and has overcome in such unusual and extenuating times. I voted for Marlis Davidson. I would continue to vote for Marlis Davidson. I think it is important to have a multitude of ideas shared, and that in that multitude believe that every parent wants the best for their child, but all voices shall be heard. And there are difficulties that I can't even understand what you have all gone through, and that in our humanness we err. And I am so appreciative of your modeling of asking for forgiveness, owning our flaws, our mistakes, and moving forward. That's what we tell our children to do when they make mistakes, not to let that define them, but allow that to be a learning point to continue to grow. I also want to speak on behalf of several families that have experienced their children being hit by cars. And we have about 5 lot in Rossmoor, knowing that there's 4 schools in Rossmoor where I live, but the density of traffic and the children trying to get to school. I want to look at ways to keep our children safe in their best interest. And if there could be a committee or something that could help, we have one child who may be going into surgery as a result. So if we could bring some voice to that and allow those parents to share.
I'm Matt Filler, Seal Beach, grandson at McAuliffe. Dr. Pulver, members of the board, and the community, I'd like to commend the board for their diligence, their caring, and dedication to educating our children and to ensuring they are protected from the ongoing pandemic. I'm appalled that partisan Republicans have misconstrued the recall power as a way to settle every grievance or disagreement with a politician. It was never intended to be abused like it is these days. It is meant to apply to some sort of misconduct, not to override elections or to discourage good faith efforts to execute the duties of the office in accordance with the best available science. While I ran against one of the current board members, it was over a belief that the district was optimistically getting ahead of the scientific consensus on COVID-19. The fact that in hindsight the board was just several months ahead of the science does not minimize the risks that I believe they took. That said, the anti-maskers and the anti-vaxxers who are pushing this recall effort are the ones who would put our kids and our community at risk. COVID-19 is very real and dangerous to all of us. Children are dying at a much higher numbers than from the Delta variant. Like the rooms full of iron lung patients from polio, long COVID will clearly be causing serious disabilities, including mental issues, a long way into the future, especially for affected children. It affects about 15% of infected children and 90% of hospitalized COVID patients. I went to junior high school about a mile from the entrance to NIH and knew some of the dedicated doctors who worked there and their children. My dad worked at the lab that now houses the FDA. If they say a medicine is safe and effective and you should take it, it is, and you should. It's horrifying to see how they are vilified by the right-wingers of today. Public health is one of the important powers of any state that is reserved by the Constitution's 10th Amendment. It has for centuries.
Thank you, Mr. Filler. Deborah Muno, and then Julia B., and that's the last 2.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me bring up the rear here. I am here in support of Tina Herron, and my whole family is as well. I moved to this area only 7 years ago, and Tina Herron was the first person I met here as I registered my freshman daughter who knew no one for high school. She's become not only a counselor for my 3 children, but part of a larger family of our community. And I just want to read you a little of the letter I wrote. I do not know the circumstances surrounding your decision to put her on administrative leave, but I know that Tina is a pillar of Los Alamitos High School in our community. She represents everything that is right with our school. She has guided and formed lasting relationships with hundreds of her students, and I have witnessed firsthand her deep commitment and love for each of them, including my 3 children. She has been the counselor to 3 of my 4 girls and provided countless hours of professional time with them, not just in course selection and college prep, but being their safe place, which is what all the kids need right now. She is a rock for them through many difficult times. For my oldest, she guided her to college, and she is one of Amanda's idols. For Julia, my second, she's very different. Tina is the reason that Julia was able to get help for her anxiety and depression and work through it and thrive. Day and night, Tina was checking in on her and making sure she had every resource she needed. She was there for my daughter when I couldn't be, and she was there for my husband too. There's no one else that trusts her like Tina. Being a counselor is not just a job for her. This is her life. This is who she is. She pours her heart and soul into caring and guiding these kids. I cannot think of LaSalle without her. Currently, okay, please.
Thank you. Julia B.
Hi, I'm Julia. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak. This is my first board meeting, and I wasn't going to speak, but I feel compelled to say some things. In the beginning of this meeting, we started with the Pledge of Allegiance, which I had a hard time saying, and I grew up in a family of Marines, so I believe in freedom. I believe in freedom of choice. I believe in all of that. My family fought for it. My uncles, my father, my cousins, everybody. So I don't take that lightly. But saying those words today felt empty. I'm listening to everybody speak. Sorry, I get shaky. I'm listening to everybody speak, and there is such a separation, which is not something I want my child to grow up in, nor do I want to be in. I believe that there's 2 sides, and your job right now is a tough job. I don't envy your position at all, but I do believe that we can lead by example, and I wanted my child in this district for a reason, because it was one of the best districts, and we can lead by example and lead with a freedom of choice. We don't have to pick one side or the other. We can allow our parents to speak and make the choice for our children. It also seemed as if there was a lot of people who were friends of board members speaking who don't have children in the schools. Their voices really felt empty, in my opinion. They don't really matter. It's the parents that matter. It's not friends of board members or people who don't have children in schools anymore. I hope that moving forward, we can lead by example for our children and for other districts in the state and give freedom of choice so that everybody's welcome and there is no separation. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to check to make sure that Amy Hanf, Josh Spiller, Rachel Sandoval, or Heather Roberts, I mean, Heather wasn't going to speak, aren't here to speak. Okay, that concludes the public forum, and I believe Dr. Pulver, you'd like to speak?
Yes, just to clarify a few things, because obviously you can't comment on everything, nor can I. But in general, I can't speak specifics about employee matters. In general, we can't speak about employee matters, but I do want to say we hear you. We really do follow due process in all of this. And sometimes due process takes a little bit of time, but that doesn't mean that something has been decided. It really is just going through the due process for that. So I do want to acknowledge that. I also wanted to acknowledge every once in a while we keep hearing this recurring theme about CRT, and it doesn't matter how many times individuals come up to the podium to say that we're teaching the oppressed versus the oppressive. We are not. We are not teaching white shaming. We do have an elective ethnic studies class that students can enroll in on their own volition as juniors and seniors. When I hear people say that they want to hear our history taught, I was fortunate this past week to be in DC. For the first time, I was able to visit the African American Museum of Culture and History. And let me tell you, there was parts of our history that I did not know until I was in that museum. So if you're wanting us to teach history, we want to make sure we can do that for all of our students. And then lastly, regarding the traffic in Rossmoor, that is something we continue to partner with our community in Rossmoor. We've been partnering with them to put up signs about drive slowly. Our director of safety, Dr. Jerry Friedman, has been working directly with RCSD. We don't patrol the streets. That really is the responsibility of our law enforcement agencies. But we have just recently asked them to do another traffic study to see if they would consider additional crossing guards. Crossing guards are not under the jurisdiction of the district. They are our local cities and municipalities jurisdiction, but we will continue to partner. And if you have questions or concerns, you can reach out to Dr. Jerry Freeman or your local principal. We do want to partner with you because the safety of our kids is paramount. Thank you.
Thank you. And that ends the public forum. I believe we'll take a 10-minute recess. Thank you.
We will return live on YouTube.
The meeting resumes after a short recess, and we are now on information and presentations. And there will be a presentation of textbooks, and Mrs. Reed, would you
Thank
like
you so
to
much,
share?
President Davidson. We're really excited tonight. We're bringing forward Houghton Mifflin Harcourt's Into Reading English Language Arts program for our kindergarten through 5th grade classrooms. This is after a 2-year exploration of 6 English language arts programs and two extensive pilots in elementary school classrooms of 2 programs. It was an overwhelming support by our 36 teachers that piloted in their classrooms. So we had 1 teacher from every grade level at every elementary school spend 6 weeks with the first pilot and 8 weeks with our second pilot. And so Houghton Mifflin Harcourt's Into Reading will be on public display here at Education Services for the next 30 days before we bring it back to the board for action.
Just for clarification, Mrs. Reed, whenever we adopt any curriculum, is it on display for 30 days at the district office?
It's always minimally on display for 30 days. Sometimes we make a choice to put it on display longer if we see there's growing public interest or a lot of questions surrounding our curriculum. We've done that as a past practice. So yeah, 30 days is actually a minimum mandate through Ed Code, which we must display any instructional materials to our community and provide the opportunity through a board meeting setting or sending us an email or stopping by the district office to provide comment and input on the materials that we're bringing forward for to be purchased with public dollars.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mrs. Reed, may I pick up a copy, please?
So a copy would probably be more materials than fit on that table right there.
Okay.
Right, because textbooks, maybe many of us in our mind think of it like one book.
Right.
But in today's educational landscape, there are probably 6 different sets of supplemental materials, leveled readers, probably 180 per classroom. So I would say the best way to view the materials, and we'll send this out through Ms. Dingell this week, would be the electronic platform. Okay. Unless you'd want to come and actually explore the different materials, I could send home samples of items with you, but it really wouldn't be the full program. And there's really, feels funny, we call it a textbooks adoption, but there's really no such thing as like a single textbook any longer.
That great explanation, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I will take the electronic
You got it.
feed. Thank you.
Mr. Forehand?
Yeah, just a quick one. We were at Hopkinson today. We got to actually We were actually got to talk to one of the teachers piloting, and it's unbelievable. You know, I have many years in teaching and curriculum, but this book looks great.
It's really unbelievable what's available in just the 2-year time period that we began exploring and how far along technologies come to support students of all learning modalities in terms of supplements in the classroom. So we're really excited. It actually worked out perfect for us that we were forced to wait a little bit longer as we paused our exploration when our schools were in the hybrid last school year.
I was there too, and it was amazing because the books provide the opportunity. They're disposable, and so the students can annotate, they can write word symbols, depth and complexity, anything, and at the end of every story were really complex questions that caused a high level of critical thinking. These were 3rd graders making inferences, comparisons, drawing upon their own knowledge about what's driving somebody's motivation and feelings. And then the other part of it too is that the illustrations were so incredibly beautiful and showed diverse communities in every story. It's very exciting to see, because what the kids can do with those books and the kind of thinking that you're asking, including group discussion questions, is incredible. Really
I think
good.
The most exciting part is also what our teachers will do with it. So we're, as you know, super blessed. Our teachers are trained in many of our instructional programs, including close reading, depth and complexity, balanced literacy. And so really their skill in those areas paired with the curriculum we're bringing forward, I think is really a win for our kids.
Thank you so much.
And then I just wanted to thank all of our teachers who really took a lot of additional time. This is a brand new textbook to pilot, and to have teachers at every grade level, Ed Services, who really provided the facilitation and the opportunities for them to really compare textbooks before you purchase something. And what was exciting is we were there today at Hopkinson, and Mrs. Stewart, who was one of the pilot teachers, was just sharing how comprehensive it is for an English language arts adoption. just the vocabulary. They don't necessarily have to have a separate wordly wise. Everything is just a really comprehensive, and how it can also tie in to a lot of the strategies our teachers already use, whether it be through the Daily Five and Stop and Jot and the annotations, Readers and Writers Workshop. And then I too was really impressed when we talk about some of the recent legislation, just the diversity of students that were represented in the characters and in the stories really allows all of our, I hope, all of our students to be able to see themselves within their curriculum all the way down from kindergarten. So it was really impressive, and we're fortunate, and I want to thank our teachers for taking the opportunity to dive deep, to really pilot it before we did this. And then again, Ed Services, who really worked with teachers to have them really compare and synthesize the data of which they believe is going to help them perfect their craft and reach the needs of our students the best way that we can. So thank you, Team Ed Services, as well.
Thank you. Thanks so much. We're moving on to our consent items now. These are items, sort of the regular business of the district. We get the agendas on Friday, and we are able to go through all of these, write questions, submit questions, and get answers before the board meeting. So these consent items, I'm looking for a motion on approval for 12A through N.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you for the questions that we had that were answered. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. We are now moving on to our action items. The first one is the second reading and approval of updated board policy 51441.52 on suicide prevention. Mrs. Reed?
Thank you, President Davidson. We're bringing forward this for the second time with no revisions from the first reading.
Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Second. Do we have discussion? So we had the opportunity over the last month to read through this this updated board policy and get any questions answered. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. The next one is the adoption of another resolution, and Mrs. Galicia, would you like to explain that?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So this is an annual request for approval to go out and bid on technology and internet solutions through our E-rate process, which allows us to get discounts for all those items.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval?
So move.
Oh, second.
Okay, is there discussion? This is a roll call vote. Mrs. D'Angelo?
Mr. Fayette?
Aye.
Ms. Scatuli?
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill? Aye. Mr. Forehand?
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0. 13C is approval of memorandum of understanding between the district and Anaheim Regional Medical Center. Dr. Frazier, would you like to address that?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, this is our MOU for our cessation classes. What this offers our students is 4 one-hour classes if they were found in possession or using tobacco nicotine products on campus. So we provide those classes here in lieu of maybe a reduction or alternative to suspension as well. And at the end of the program, they all get certificates for completion.
Thank you.
I have a clarification. I want to make sure I heard this correctly. The classes are actually held on the high school campus, so they don't have to go down?
No, they're at the district office. They're held here at the district office.
Well, I'm just thinking they don't have to go to Anaheim.
No, they come here.
Okay, let's stop that smoking.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Oh,
Any further
3 seconds on that.
We all want to help the kids.
Yeah.
Is there any further discussion?
I would just like to make a comment, Madam President, if possible. I just really appreciate that we look at prevention here as well and treating and not just saying, oh, that's a problem and we're not going to deal with it. We know that smoking as well as vaping is really a big issue for our high school students, and to be able to find a way to help educate them, I think is really valuable, and I really appreciate all the work to do that. Thank you.
Further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. We next move on to approval of warrants. And the warrants are our monthly bills, and the lists can be 40 to 60 pages long. And Mrs. Galicia, you and your department do a phenomenal job, because I even know how much we're spending on pens and, wipes. So so this is, we look at this also when we look at the agenda, and we literally go over item by item, asking what this organization is, what service do they provide, and it's our opportunity to learn about where the money's going and get our questions answered. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. So now I get to go to the acceptance of donations. And this is the last time I get to do this very wonderful, wonderful approval, because next time I surrender the gavel. So it is pure joy to recognize all the generous hearts in our community, all of the organizations, the individuals, the PTA groups who step up in very challenging times to continue to provide donations for us to supplement programs and build upon the things that we're trying to do for children. So you can see everything from $264 donations to $37,836. We appreciate every penny, and we have a grand total of, this month, $39,906.09 to bring our total this year of donations from a wonderful, generous, giving community, $259,279.12. Yay, thank you, thank you. So do I have a motion for approval?
Also move.
Any comments? Thank you. Yeah, thank you, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is approval of our classified personnel report and certificated personnel report. And Dr. Frazier, would you speak to that?
Thank you, Madam President. We have been busy still filling vacancies. If you're out there and you are looking for a job, you can visit us at www.losal.org. You go to the human resources pages and then to job opportunities. We've got several job opportunities out there. So if you're bored at home, we've got work for you, and we would love to have you. So, and with that, I bring forward the classified and certificated personnel reports as presented.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion?
Also move.
Second?
Second.
We're all getting a little slower here. So is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. And I believe lastly, we have approval to hold our annual organizational meeting on December 14th, 2021. And Dr. Pulver, would you speak to that?
I would be happy to. Esteemed board members, the Education Code does require for you to hold your annual organizational meeting within a prescribed 15-day period from the first day of the term of office following a November election. So for the 2021 year, your organizational meeting can take place anytime between December 10th and December 24th. And you're also required to be able to announce that and notify the county superintendent at our school board meeting prior to that, which would be this meeting. And so we will be holding our organizational meeting where we turn the gavel over and have a new board president for the year and the various committees, and where we approve our board meetings for the next year, although we do have a draft that's been on the website for quite some time. And that'll be December 14th.
Thank you. Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. And with that final approval, I gavel an end to this meeting. There will not be a closed session meeting after this. So we are done, and we thank you, all of you who stayed. Thank you. Thank you. Yay.